Today I'm going to dive deep and explain to you what exactly does a subheading do for blog posts. Is it going to affect your Google ranking? What are some best practices? And what are the mistakes you should avoid when doing subheadings for your blog posts? Hi, I'm Clarice Lin, the ROI doctor who helps small businesses rank on Google and YouTube page 1. So first up, let's talk about what is the real role or purpose of subheadings for your blog post. A subheading is like a signpost throughout your entire blog post. Most people don't fully comprehend the importance of subheadings in their blog posts. They think it's something that's good to have and not focusing enough energy and efforts to put thoughts into what kind of subheadings should they have in their blog posts. And this is something that could actually help them improve in their Google rankings. So subheadings act both as a form of aesthetic. It helps to guide people, to tell people what are different sections of your blog posts, what are they about, what are the texts or body text that's following the subheading. Time is really scarce and people tend to scan through blog posts. So if someone stumbles upon your blog post and realize it's a very lengthy article, but they are not sure if they want to read it at some point, so they might want to quickly scan it and look through using the subheadings as a guide to tell them if they should bookmark it for further reading. So I have a number of people who have told me that with subheading really helps them to decide whether this is the blog post that they are going to store for future references. So subheading does work in that manner. And another thing about having subheading is it gives enough spaces between your text, so it'll be easier for reading. Most people might be reading the blog post on their mobile phone these days. More than 50% of blog traffic comes from a mobile because people are looking for information on the go. So if you look at the screen size of a mobile phone, which is like really tiny compared to a screen, you have to consider how your blog post is going to look on both devices. So most people, when they build on their website or if they're doing their blog post, they will look at it using their laptop, which has a larger screen. So they might structure it in such a way that they feel that it's easy to read, forgetting that most people would likely be reading the blog post on the phone. So what happens is something that looks good and decent on the bigger screen might not be as reader-friendly on the small screen. Let's look at this particular example. Look at this on a big screen. This is how it looks like, and this is how it looks like on a small screen. So what do you think? Do you think that makes a big difference if you space it out properly using subheadings? It allows people to understand and follow along better with their eye. So having subheadings gives them some space between those different texts and allows them to be able to follow along when they read it. And why would you want to make it easy for readers to read? Of course, that's to stop them from leaving your blog post. Imagine you have a very useful article, but people are finding it difficult to read it. So they will abandon it because they have no patience for it. What you need to do is to make sure people read through these subheadings. They find it really useful, and with enough spaces in between, it helps them to digest this article and keep them on your blog post. You don't want people to leave. So in that case, subheadings play an integral role in keeping readers wanting to read your blog post from beginning to end. So subheading also helps a user to understand the flow of what you're delivering. Some people might only want to read certain sections, so it helps them to find that information quicker. So if they found a solution, but if they want to read more, they can still bookmark it to come back later. Having subheadings is a useful way to help readers find their answers quickly on your blog posts. Now that you know how important subheadings are for your readers, I want to cover the other aspect of having subheadings in your blog posts, that is to help Google understand what your blog post is about. So Google's mission is to help users to find the most useful and relevant information. When you have subheadings in your different sections, It helps Google to understand how closely related your blog post is to certain keywords or certain key phrases that you are putting in your subheadings. When you don't have enough subheadings in your blog post, it's very challenging for Google to decide how important your blog post is or how closely related it is for certain specific keywords or phrases. 6 different subheadings that you include. So you have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So in terms of hierarchy, if you have a body text under H1, it's considered to be more important than your body text under H2 or H3. So you can use up to 6 different types of heading hierarchy in your blog post itself. So people might ask me, how many subheadings would be best, optimal in the blog post? So Google hasn't really specified how many subheadings should you include in a blog post, but most tools suggest that for best practices, having a subheading every about 300 words is a good benchmark to have. So if you look at that, look at about 300 words, that's kind of enough text for people to digest before having a subheading to tell them, okay, yes, next point. So it not only helps to split up the wall of text that's making it difficult for people to read, it also helps Google to decide what is the related score for a particular keyword that you have embedded in your different subheadings. One of the best practices for your subheadings is you want to include your keywords or key phrases into those subheadings, so it helps to inform Google, to reiterate to Google that this blog post is very much related to these keywords. You can have variation or different conjugation of the keywords that you have. So if you're adding a noun, you could change it into like a verb, or you could have like past tense of those words. Or if you're using certain adjectives, which are keywords, you could also add synonyms, which are different words of similar meanings into your text. So Google's algorithm is really smart these days. When you include different variations of the same words, basically you're telling Google that it's about this topic. You're just informing them that, because Google uses the algorithm to understand the text that you have put inside. So some people make this big mistake of repeating the keywords in every single subheading, or they try to use the same words everywhere, maybe every 100 words they try to use those keywords inside. And that's what Google wouldn't like it at all. In fact, that's considered cheating, and Google will penalize you if you do that. So there are a number of people who try to use those keywords repeatedly, stuffing those keywords into those texts, and what happens is over time Google's algorithm was able to spot that, and to them they will give them a penalty, and then it would decrease your chances of getting on page 1, of course. So you don't really want to do that. Spread it out, don't overdo it. So some people might ask me, what size fonts should I have for my subheadings? So typically for the normal body text, the recommended size is about 16. That also depends on what different fonts you're using. So if you're using 16 for your body text, you want your subheadings to be at least size 18 or 20, so people can see the difference, which are the subheadings, which are the text itself. Your subheadings shouldn't just be like one font size up compared to your body text, because if you do that, people can't really differentiate it, so that defeats the entire purpose. So to sum it up, subheadings help to keep your users to read your blog post, to help them to read it more easily, to help them to understand, to help them to follow better. So they want to continue reading it, they want to save it and bookmark for future purposes. So if you make these users happy, Google knows that you're making these users happy. So Google will send more traffic to your website, as well as also rank your blog post on page 1. Putting keywords into your subheadings, related keywords, synonyms in different parts of your subheadings, reiterating to Google that your blog post is closely related to a specific topic, so they know when to show your blog on their search results page. So by fulfilling both of these requirements, that's really going to help you rank better on Google, and you will definitely see improvements in your blog post rankings. So if you haven't been rigorously injecting subheadings into your blog post, I would suggest you go back to review your blog, try to read it on a mobile to see if you're using the right number of subheadings for every about 300 words, so you're making it clear for people who are on a mobile. Let me know if you found this tip useful about making the most of your subheadings in the blog post. Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video really useful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out any future videos on how to rank on Google and YouTube page 1. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!